story. Mask madness in Connecticut and across the country. Confusion starting to set in for where you need a mask and where you don't. In just over the last 24 hours, the landscape when it comes to mandatory masks has drastically changed.
And that has a lot of people wondering tonight, mask on or mask off, and where? At this point, it's all over the place, really. Airports different than train stations, different than public buses, different than ride-hailing services. And for some people, it's proving hard to try and keep up.
Fox 61's Gabby Molina is live tonight with how people are responding to all these mask changes and what you should know before you take your mask off. Gabby.
Ben, Jen, there is a lot of confusion about where masks are required and where they are not. Here's an example. Right here at Union Station in Hartford, there are buses. Some of them require masks still, while others do not. So it really all depends on where you're going, how you're getting there. And one thing to note, though, everywhere, wherever you go, anyone that feels more comfortable wearing a mask is welcome to do so. Many people have been left wondering whether or not to mask up on public transit after a court ruling overturned the federal requirement this week.
I see some people wearing it, some people not wearing it, so I don't know, it's kind of confusing.
If you're flying, the Connecticut Airport Authority is no longer requiring masks. That affects passengers at Bradley International Airport and the state's 5 general aviation airports.
I'd say most people not wearing masks. Maybe 1 in every 10 was wearing a mask.
Tweed New Haven Airport, which is a separate entity, is still asking people to wear masks inside the terminal since it hasn't made a decision yet. Here's where it gets a little tricky, though. Avelo, which is the only airline out of Tweed, does not require masks, which means once you get on the plane, you can take it off. It's a similar situation at New Haven's Union Station. Masks are still required at the station and on Metro North trains, but Amtrak has ditched the requirement.
I think it's time. But I think it's up to the individual whether they want to wear one or not, whether they feel safe or not.
The Hartford Line and Shoreline East also still require masks. If you're traveling by bus, you still have to wear a mask on CT Transit, but not on Greyhound or Peter Pan.
I'm still going to wear it. I think it just doesn't bother me that much.
They're not forcing you to take it off. So if people don't want to, that's fine.
Uber and Lyft have also dropped their mask mandates for drivers and passengers. The changing messages about masking can be really stressful for people. Experts say to what extent depends on the person.
For someone who's not immunosuppressed or immunocompromised, maybe navigating spaces like airports or trains or the grocery store, perhaps it's not as stressful for those folks. But for people who are immunocompromised in that sense, this really opens up a whole other can of worms.
And people should prepare for the potential for even more changes. Today, the Department of Justice announced that it will appeal that mask ruling, but only if the CDC deems that it's necessary. Live in Hartford, Gabby Molina, Fox 61 News.